Welcome to my bold and beautiful today's show channel. I hope today fantastic for everyone. Please hit the subscribes button and give this video thumbs up. Taylor keeps eyes on Brooke Ridge's emotional caregivers fight. The bold and the beautiful spoilers document that Taylor Hayes is sitting pretty. She's reclaimed her family with Ridge Forrester and won this round of a back-and-forth war against Brooke Logan. But devoted fans know that Brooke will never truly surrender. According to rumors, Nick Marone will return to Los Angeles, California, by June. However, Brooke is unaware of that. Summer will give way to spring between now and then. However, prior to that plot point, viewers will be treated to a battle between Taylor and Brooke that has been completely revived and re-energized. Ridge Forrester possessed sufficient given the plethora of script evidence. It is unquestionable at this point that Ridge has a deeper love for Brooke than for Taylor. However, he has made it a point to swear off his Logan. So, why didn't Ridge take a break from Brooke and remain single? As the audience knows, Ridge finds it hard, or rather, impossible, to be without a woman. He's counted on a rotation of Brooke and Taylor to prop him up for many decades, and it's hard to blame him since both great ladies genuinely adore him. And yes, propping him up is the phrase of choice because Brooke and Taylor have served as his emotional caregivers for many years. Taylor Hayes' health scare created resolve. Taylor was sincere. She returned to LA to reconnect with family, make peace, and then die. As devoted fans recall, Taylor received an inexact diagnosis before coming home. She believed that her heart failure couldn't be resolved and was going to prove fatal shortly. However, Ridge coerced her into seeking a second opinion. Fortunately, specialists were consulted and evaluated thoroughly. Dr. Grace Buckingham determined that Taylor is suffering from broken heart syndrome, a soapy term, even if that wording exists on the other side of the screen. That gave Taylor determination and faith that she and Ridge could get back together. The future of Brooke Logan looks different. All of Taylor's previous conflicts with Brooke paled in comparison to the reality of her own mortality. Brooke initially rejected Taylor's relay of that news. Part of the reason why Ridge has reconciled with Taylor is because of the new appreciation he has for this other longtime love. He had taken her for granted, assuming that she would always be his go-to, or as some in the audience may understandably believe, his second choice. Brooke is also a member of that group. There is no doubt that Brooke loves Ridge, wants him back, and rejects the idea that Taylor can provide anything she can't. Another Forrester Creations fashion show will establish the scene of the next Brooke-Taylor battle. Ridge will assume the middle position, which he will probably hold until Nick arrives. It will be intriguing to see how Kay's character responds when that time comes. Eric doubles down on his push to reunite Ridge, while Carter poses a sexy question too. Hope and Eric both support Ridge and Brooke reuniting, though the dressmaker himself doesn't appear to be on board. Plus, Carter still wants Hope, but does she want him? After the big fashion show and Brooke's showstopper moment, she and Ridge circle one another in the main office. Did her ploy work? Have old feelings been stirred? Whether they have or they haven't, Hope tells her mother, "You say you want to be with Ridge. Then I want that for you, too." Brooke replies the only way she possibly could, "Here's my destiny." Brooke also has former husband Eric's support in her efforts to reclaim her ex. Eric pushed Ridge to go back to Brooke even before the fashion show began, but he wasn't having it. Even Taylor and Steffi couldn't deny that when Ridge and Brooke hit the runway together to wrap up the show, their chemistry was off the charts, and the crowd loved them. Coming up, once again, Eric tells Ridge that he belongs with Brooke. Ridge replies, and with an admirably straight face, "I'm committed to somebody else." On another front, Daphne has made no secret of her desire to have a relationship with Carter. That probably won't happen as long as Katie is around to look after her former flame. The busybody asks Daphne point blank if she was only in Los Angeles to do Steffi's dirty work. Finally, Carter asks Hope to tell him that she wants him as much as he wants her. Does she see a future with him, or will Liam's diagnosis pull her back to her first great love? Read The Bold and Beautiful to learn the direction in which Liam points his ex-wife. Taylor Hayes sat comfortably in a position she hadn't truly held for years, triumphant, seemingly untouchable, her place beside Ridge Forrester not just reclaimed but solidified by emotional gravity, And yet, for every glint of satisfaction in her victory, an undercurrent of anxiety rippled beneath. Because Taylor knew better than to ever fully trust in peace where Brooke Logan was concerned, and even as Ridge stood faithfully beside her now, devoted in word and promise, Taylor's instincts sharpened to the inevitable storm brewing, for Brooke was never the type to simply fade into the background or accept defeat with grace, and even though Los Angeles buzzed with anticipation about Nick Marone's impending summer return, a factor unbeknownst to Brooke, a man whose presence could pull her heart in unexpected directions, the immediate future would not grant Taylor the reprieve she might hope for, because with the seasons shifting and the heat of summer kissing the edges of spring, a fresh, fiery chapter of the eternal Brooke Taylor saga loomed, ready to explode before Nick even set foot in town, leaving Ridge once again caught between two formidable women who had served not merely as lovers or partners but, more deeply and devastatingly, as emotional crutches, the twin supports that had carried him through a lifetime of indecision, ego, and needy desire. And while Ridge's history undeniably favored Brooke as the woman of his most profound passion, decades of longing, betrayal, and reunion woven into their DNA, he had, at least for now, chosen to swear her off, swearing allegiance to Taylor, perhaps less out of explosive love and more out of a tender obligation, a softened realization of mortality that Taylor's health scare had thrust into the forefront of his mind, and as fans watched with bated breath, questions lingered. If Ridge truly loved Brooke more, why not walk away from both women entirely and rediscover himself as an independent man, a solitary soul free from the cycle of dependency? But such speculation ignored the fundamental truth of Ridge's nature, that he was a man who could not, would not, function alone, who needed to be needed, who sought constant emotional buoyancy from the women who adored him and who, in turn, allowed him to continue avoiding the darker confrontation of his own weaknesses. And so Taylor and Brooke, each powerful and resilient in their own rights, found themselves yet again reduced to caregivers, emotional nurses to a man-child who basked in their devotion while remaining blind to the cost it exacted from them. And though Taylor's health scare had been real, her initial diagnosis grave and life-altering, Ridge's insistence on a second opinion had not only saved her life but reshaped her entire outlook, because when Dr. Grace Buckingham delivered the news that Taylor's ailment was not terminal heart failure but rather a soapy yet surprisingly plausible broken heart syndrome, Taylor experienced a profound renaissance of spirit. A reawakening that made her realize she no longer wished to merely drift through life mourning what was lost but to fight fiercely, unapologetically for what she wanted: Ridge, family, stability, the chance to reclaim the narrative of her life after too many years as a secondary character in Brooke's endless spotlight. And while Ridge responded with affection and a sincere commitment, the very fact that Taylor's reclamation of Ridge was born from a near-death experience created a fragile dynamic, a relationship fueled more by gratitude and duty than unrestrained romantic fervor, a fact that gnawed at Taylor in her most vulnerable moments. And meanwhile, Brooke, unaware of Nick's looming return and utterly unwilling to accept permanent loss, marshaled her forces for a renewed assault, understanding instinctively that a window had opened, that Ridge's heart, however bound by promises, was never truly immune to her pull. And the battleground for this latest confrontation would not be fought in dark alleys or whispered phone calls but on the brightly lit stage of Forrester Creations itself, where another extravagant fashion show provided the perfect setting for old tensions to flare anew, where Brooke's carefully calculated showstopper moment strutting alongside Ridge with undeniable chemistry, radiant and irresistible, reignited not only Ridge's conflicted feelings but the public's adoration, setting tongues wagging and hearts pounding as everyone, from the loyal Eric Forrester to the skeptical Steffi Forrester, was forced to confront the truth. When Ridge and Brooke stood together, the world felt right, and no amount of rationalizing could extinguish the visceral, electric connection they shared. And so, even as Ridge protested to his father with a remarkably straight face that he was committed, as Ridge struggled with the affection he still felt for Brooke, the loyalty he had pledged to Taylor, and the incessant pressures from Eric, Hope, and even his own conflicted heart, the scene was set for an explosion, one where old alliances would be tested, new betrayals would be born, and the question that had haunted these characters for decades would once again demand an answer: was Ridge Forrester's destiny truly Brooke Logan? As she so fervently believed, the bold and the beautiful has always thrived on the tempestuous, decade-spanning war between Taylor Hayes and Brooke Logan, a battle that has defined love, loyalty, and rivalry in Los Angeles. Taylor is in a rare position of triumph right now because she seems to have won Ridge Forrester's heart and forced Brooke to flee. But anyone who knows Brooke Logan understands that surrender is not in her vocabulary. Even as whispers circulate about Nick Marone's impending return, a twist Brooke remains oblivious to, the real storm is yet to come. Before summer arrives and Nick's presence complicates the emotional landscape, spring will ignite yet another explosive chapter in the Taylor-Brooke saga, one that will test loyalties, expose vulnerabilities, and force Ridge back into the role he knows all too well. The indecisive man torn between two women who have spent their lives propping him up. Ridge Forrester's emotional dependency. The truth, as evidenced by years of storytelling, is that Ridge's deepest love has always been Brooke. Their connection is primal, obsessive, and cyclical, marked by betrayals, reunions, and an almost gravitational pull that neither can resist for long. Yet, despite this, Ridge has once again declared himself committed to Taylor. The question is, why? If his love for Brooke is so undeniable, why not take a step back from both women and stand on his own? The answer lies in Ridge's fundamental nature. He is a man who cannot function without a woman by his side, particularly one who devotes herself entirely to his emotional well-being. This is the reason why Ridge cannot function without a woman. Taylor and Brooke have alternated taking care of him for decades, calming his ego, confirming his choices, and absorbing his crises. He is not a man built for solitude, he thrives on being needed, and both women have enabled this dynamic, willingly or not. Taylor's second chance at love and life. Taylor's return to Los Angeles was initially framed by tragedy. Believing she was dying from an irreversible heart condition, she came back to make amends, reconnect with her family, and face her end with dignity. But fate, and soap opera logic, had other plans. Her condition was not terminal, according to a second opinion. Rather, it was a case of broken heart syndrome, a diagnosis that is both dramatic and appropriate. This revelation reignited her hope, not just for survival, but for love. Ridge was shaken by the thought of losing her and had to reevaluate their relationship. For once, Taylor was not just the reliable backup, she was the woman who reminded him of mortality, of second chances, and of the love that had always been there, even when overshadowed by his passion for Brooke. However, Taylor is not a fool. She is aware that Ridge's commitment, despite being sincere at the time, is brittle. She has seen him waver too many times to believe this is truly the end of his dance with Brooke. And for good reason. Despite her wounds, Brooke is already planning her next move. Brooke Logan, down but never out. Brooke has been humiliated, yes. She has watched Ridge walk away, heard him declare his loyalty to Taylor, and faced the sting of public defeat. However, Brooke Logan leaves quickly. Her love for Ridge is not just emotional, it is a fundamental part of her identity. She declares, "He is my destiny," and she believes that Taylor's brief victory cannot alter that destiny. The upcoming Forrester Creations fashion show will serve as the battleground for their next clash. Brooke, ever the strategist, knows how to remind Ridge of what they share. When they step onto that runway together, the electricity between them is undeniable, even Taylor and Steffi cannot ignore it. The crowd erupts, Ridge's resolve wavers, and Brooke's confidence grows. She has allies, too, Hope, who supports her mother's pursuit of happiness, and Eric, who openly pushes Ridge to reunite with Brooke. "You belong with her," Eric insists, voicing what so many in the audience believe. Ridge's response, "I'm committed to somebody else," is firm, but the doubt lingers in his eyes. The looming wildcard, Nick Marone. Before summer's heat fully settles over Los Angeles, Nick Marone's return will shake the foundation of Brooke's world. A former flame with his own complicated history with Ridge and the Forresters, Nick's presence could either pull Brooke away from her obsession with Ridge or reignite old rivalries in unexpected ways. But for now, Brooke remains unaware of his impending arrival, her focus is solely on reclaiming Ridge, no matter the cost. Carter's desire the unstable future. Meanwhile, another romantic subplot simmers. Carter, ever the steadfast presence, still yearns for hope, and he isn't afraid to ask the direct question, "Do you want me as much as I want you?" Hope's answer remains uncertain, especially with Liam's recent diagnosis pulling at her loyalties. Will she move forward with Carter, or will Liam's vulnerability draw her back into his orbit? The never-ending war. Taylor may have won this round, but the war is far from over. She watches Brooke with the vigilance of a woman who knows that history repeats itself, that Ridge's vows are only as strong as his weakest moment. And Brooke, ever the fighter, is already circling, waiting for that moment to strike. In the end, Ridge remains the man in the middle, pulled between two women who love him, enable him, and refuse to let go. The only certainty: this battle is far from over. In the shadows of these familial earthquakes, Carter Walton found himself yet again caught between loyalty, ambition, and the treacherous waters of romance. Furious upon discovering Steffi and Daphne's duplicity, Carter confronted the women FW had dared to manipulate him, demanding honesty in a world where it was increasingly scarce. For Carter, this betrayal was a bitter pill, reopening wounds he had only just begun to heal. And through it all, Katie remained a fierce advocate, determined to protect Carter from further harm even as she grappled with her own lingering feelings for him. The week also promised to shine a spotlight on lesser-known schemes and moral dilemmas, with Zende Forrester Dominguez facing a crossroads of loyalty versus ambition. Zende's own secrets threatened to erupt, creating ripple effects that would touch nearly every corner of Forrester Creations, proving once again that in the bold and the beautiful, no secret stays buried for long, and no relationship, however sturdy, is truly safe from the tremors of betrayal, ambition, and heartache. As the characters danced their intricate, painful ballet across boardrooms and bedrooms alike, one truth became unmistakably clear: destiny, though a powerful force, is never static. It moves, bends, and sometimes breaks, only to be forged again. Brooke, Ridge, Taylor, Liam, Hope, Carter, Katie, and all the rest were merely dancers on destiny's stage, and the music, sweet, savage, and achingly beautiful, played on.